נגדי תמיד שביתי הוויה לנגדי תמיד הוויה 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 אהבה 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 הוויה 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 אהבה 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 שביתי היה לנגדי תמיד שביתי הוויה לנגדי תמיד. Erev Tov, everyone. Let's start by taking a collective breath in and out. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services. But I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Let's begin on page 4 with the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMvorach Leolam Va'ed. The sun has finally arrived today, and it feels like we're finally moving towards summer. I am so grateful both for this and for the change in times and in seasons. And broadly speaking, this is the meaning of the Mariv Aravim. So keeping this kavanah in mind, this gratitude for the changes in times and seasons, let's read together on page 6. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma potech sharim, uvitbuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim b'mishmartehem barakir kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golal o mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch alenu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We continue on page 8. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chokim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu Uvkumeinu nasiach b'chukecha Nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayeinu Ve'orech yameinu Uvahem nege yomam v'layla Nege yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatecha אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, כשאתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת ואמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתנו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We continue on page 19. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live life with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Ushmar tzetenu voenu lechayim ushalom, me'ata v'yad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Baruch ata Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael le'ad. We continue on page 20 with the Chatzi Kaddish. I invite you to rise if you're able. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מעלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישבח, ופאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם בעלמא, ואמרו Amen. So today I thought we could again use the interpretive Amidah that if you joined us last week you may have experienced. We'll begin by taking a few moments to pause for silent prayer at the start of the Amidah. We'll say the Adonai Sefatai Tit together and then pause. You may wish to recite the Shemona Esrei in full, or you may wish to meditate on the words of your heart. And we'll come together for a creative repetition of the Amidah in a few moments. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. We continue in silence until page 100. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips so that my mouth will be able to praise you. Let us remember all who came before us, each seeking their connection to the divine in their own way. Let us remind ourselves that while our ways of approaching the source of life may be different from the ways of our parents, their ways were different from the ways of their parents. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ufpoked Sarah. Let us remember the great strengths of the universe, turning around situations that seemed irreparable. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Hametim. Let us remember the holiness of the Eternal One, the kind of holiness that even the holiest creatures are always in attempt to capture. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Let us remember the source of our knowledge and wisdom. Let us remind ourselves that no matter how much we learn, there is a limit to how much we will understand in our lifetimes. Baruch atah Adonai, Chonen Hada'at. Let us remember to avoid self-righteousness. Let us remind ourselves that we are not perfect and have a natural tendency to transgress. Let us remind ourselves that the gates of tshuva are always open. Baruch atah Adonai harotzeh b'tshuva. Let us remember that forgiveness is possible. Let us remind ourselves that we have to ask before receiving it. Baruch atah Adonai chonen ha'marbeh lisloach. Let us remember our people and their grievances. Let us remind ourselves, even in times of joy, that redemption is not yet here. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Let us remember to take care of ourselves and of the people around us. Let us remind ourselves of those who are not well and wish them a speedy recovery. Baruch atah Adonai Rofer HaCholim. Let us remember the earth and how unpredictable it can be. Let us remind ourselves of all those affected by natural disasters, those wishing for more rain this year, and those who could use a little less. Baruch atah Adonai Mevarech Hashanim. Let us remember that some of us are still in exile. Let us remind ourselves that some of us may physically be in Zion, but are spiritually exiled. Baruch atah Adonai Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael. Let us remember that justice is yet to be restored. Let us remind ourselves of those who are transparent in our legal systems and those wronged by it. Baruch atah Adonai Melech Ohev Tzedakah Umishpat. Let us remember those who betrayed us and have enabled our enemies. Let us remind ourselves that not everyone who seems to have betrayed us actually has, but that sometimes evil does exist. Baruch atah Adonai Shover Oivim Umachnia Zedim. Let us remember those who joined our family from their own free will and the hardships that they sometimes encounter. Let us remind ourselves how lucky we are to have them in our lives and how crucial their presence is. Baruch atah Adonai Mish'an u'miftach le'tzadikim. Let us remember the holy city of Jerusalem. Let us remind ourselves of its beauty, its diversity, and also of its divisions. May it truly become a city of peace, swiftly and soon. Baruch atah Adonai Bonei Yerushalayim. Let us remember that this is not yet the end of history. Let us remind ourselves that there are always better times ahead. Baruch atah Adonai Matzmiach Keren Yeshua. Let us remember that sometimes prayers are answered. Let us remind ourselves to keep asking. Baruch atah Adonai Shomea Tefillah. Let us remember to keep looking for better ways to serve the Eternal One and avoid the temptation to remain set in our ways. Let us remind ourselves that at sacrificing animals seem to be the ultimate form of avodah. Let us remind ourselves that we can do better in Zion and everywhere else. Baruch atah Adonai ha-machazir shchinato l'Tzion. Let us remember to be grateful. Let us remind ourselves that more of our prayers have been answered than we might be willing to admit. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Let us remember that peace is not yet at hand. Let us remind ourselves to keep pursuing it, no matter how unattainable it may seem. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael v'shalom. Osei shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. I really love this interpretive Amidah. It was written by Rabbi Dr. Aaron Steinitz. If you want to find a copy, you can look for it on the Open Siddur project, which is an amazing online resource. I highly recommend checking it out. We're going to move to the conclusion of our service and turn to page 586 for the Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. And let's turn to page 597. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this time and in our community is remembering the following people who have passed away in the past week. Remember David Caffin, a close friend of Chris and Graham Smith. Gert Silver, husband of Rivka, father of Daniel, Ruth, and David. Irina McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, Catherine Goldstein, Stephen Strauss, and Jackie Sundam, who were Jewish victims of the Highland Park shooting. And in the period of Shloshim, we remember Shirley Marion Cass, Lady Anna Cowan, Joseph Epstein, Simon Frieden, Emma Georgi, Gustava Jason, Brian Joseph, Judith O'Donnell, Glynis May Perry, Daniel Rubin, Eleanor Nadler Schwartz, Felicia Silverbuck, Veronica Varga, and Jeffrey Willits, as well as all those needlessly dying in Ukraine. If you have other people that you are remembering at this time, I invite you to hold them in your hearts. And those names, together with the names that we're remembering as a community for them, we turn to page 598 and read together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach yirotei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaychon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, yibarach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'tromam v'yitnasei, v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dekodesha brechu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da miran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam araba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel and to all humanity, to which we say, Amen. For our closing song today, I wanted to return to the themes of that poem that I said right at the start. It's in the Mishkat Tefillah. It's beautiful. And we'll be singing Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. 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 I will build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. You must build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, 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 yadadai. Then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. 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 Yadadai, 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 yadadai. Erev Tov, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful rest of your week.